Welcome. Our opening words today are by Starhawk. We are all longing to go home to some place we've never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch glimpses from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us, eyes will light up as we enter, voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, circle of friends, someplace where we can be free. And we light our chalice this morning, the symbol of our living tradition of Unitarian Universalism, in honor of all the ways that we get free together. For the time being, we will hold the flame of our chalice in our imaginations and in our hearts. And now I invite you to please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, which is number 360 in your gray or cloth-bound hymnal, Here We Have Gathered. All right. Well, good morning and welcome to First Parish in Bedford, a Unitarian Universalist congregation where we come together every week as a people with diverse beliefs and a shared commitment to bring more peace, more love, more justice into the world. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whether you worship one God, many gods, or no God, you are welcome here. I want to say a special welcome to all of our visitors this morning here in person and out in the Zoomosphere. We are so glad you are sharing this beautiful Sunday morning with us. Here in the sanctuary, you're invited to fill out a blue connection card. You'll find them in your pews. You can give that to one of the ushers during the offering, and we will add you to our mailing list so you're kept in touch with all the great things that are going on. In Zoom, we'll put a link in the chat where you can fill out a virtual connection card. Parents and caregivers of little ones, there's a nursery available downstairs for your convenience, but I assure you, we are always delighted to have our little ones here in the sanctuary as well. A very wise person said, "I love the sound of children in church. That is the sound of a church with a future." So, aquí nos encantan los ruidos de los niños. After the service, there will be coffee, tea, and fellowship in the common room. There's also a quiet space upstairs in room 201 for people who want to gather together in a little quieter space. There are coffee and snacks in that room as well. Now we have just a few announcements today. We have some dripping water happening around the building, primarily on the second floor. I think maybe also in the basement level. So just please keep an eye out for buckets as you enjoy our beautiful space this morning. There are traffic cones around them, so they should be visible, but please just take care. We have brought back a tradition of celebrating monthly birthdays on the first Sunday of the month, or in this case, the first indoor Sunday service of the month. So at the welcome table outside the common room, there's a list of the birthdays happening in September for members and friends. And in the common room, there will be birthday cake during that coffee hour. So please help us celebrate our September birthdays. As you get your cake, you might notice there's a special designated Make a New Friend table in the common room. So if you want to make a new friend, you can sit at that table. This birthday tradition is only as good as our data. So if you have a September birthday and you're not on the list, you can email your birthday info to our office and we will add you to our list. We are pleased to be introducing a new format to the order of service for Sunday mornings, which has more, hopefully, also useful information. In particular, you'll notice there's a place for brief announcements about upcoming events. So if you are a team or a committee, you have an announcement, please email it to the office by the Wednesday before. We sent the guidelines out by email. They are also on our website. We hope this helps keep everyone better informed, and also we hope to take up less time during the service with announcements by moving them from the pulpit to the bulletin. One way you can help us is by making a regular practice of reading your bulletin and checking it for those announcements. For example, the gaming group meets today at 2 p.m. for fun and games. All are welcome, and you can learn that by reading the announcements. Finally, we're very excited to say we have a new team here at First Parish in Bedford called the Immigrant Justice Team. They are newly formed. They are leading or organizing First Parish's work around immigrant justice, including, among other things, support for the families that we're already helping here in Bedford. The team has met several times now. They are doing a terrific job of setting clear goals and priorities and making a plan for how First Parish will engage on this issue. You can learn more about what all this will mean at a special Q&A after the service on September 29th. But for today, I just wanted to introduce the team and name its members. If you are on the team and you are here, feel free to stand up when I say your name. The team is Maureen Riccici, Cecil Mercado, Ellen Shiner, Ann Schmaltz, Deb and Tom Flannery, and Christine Dudley Marling. Thank you so much for helping us make First Parish a more welcoming place and living into our vision of justice. And now, if you will please rise once again, we will share our unison affirmation, which is in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en espíritu de amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. Please be seated.
Good morning. My glasses. Ooh, I can see. So, today I flew my kite to let it soar to the highest of heights. I untied the string, and boy, did it zing. It soared to the highest of heights. But when I flew my kite, it decided to put up a fight. It pulled me around and I hit the ground as it soared to the highest of heights. It's true that I loved this kite. It had everything, whistles and lights. But laying there bruised, I had to choose to hold on or let it take flight. So, I clenched all my teeth and refused my defeat. And when it started to bend, I called all my friends and then witnessed the most glorious sight. I saw everyone cling to the string of my kite, gripping tightly as day turned to night. Though we were tired and sore, we couldn't ignore that together we rooted its flight. And now, supported by love, my kite flew above as we marveled at the magical sight. Yes, with friends by my side, I remembered why I first let this kite take flight. Now let us sing the children to their classes.
On most Sundays at First Parish, there's a time during the Sunday service when we share our joys and sorrows so that they may be held in community. This is a widely held Unitarian Universalist tradition and a cherished practice here at First Parish. In our services, we lift up our shared UU values, at the center of which is love and a vision of a particular kind of community. Community in which we can show up as our real selves, not as idealized versions of ourselves. A community in which our common humanity is celebrated and in which our distinctive particularity, that thing which makes me, me, and you, is welcomed. A community in which we support, celebrate, and encourage one another, where vulnerability is possible, where dreams can take flight, and where we grow in our collective commitment to make the world a better, more human, more humane place. The time for sharing of joys and sorrows is one of the ways we put these values and this vision into practice, right? It is an invitation to be present to one another in our humanness by sharing those significant personal milestones that touch our lives, for better or for worse. And in so doing, we allow and we trust the community to respond with compassion and care, with encouragement and celebration. So this year we are introducing an additional vehicle for you to share your joys and sorrows, recognizing that not everyone is comfortable being in front of a crowd, speaking into a microphone, or physically navigating the space to come up. If you want to share a joy or sorrow, you can still come up and speak into the microphone like you always have. Or you can fill out a joys and sorrows request form before the service. You'll find them at either entrance. You can leave that piece of paper in the basket at the candle stand before the service, and the lay pastoral care associate will read your joy or sorrow and light a candle on your behalf. You are welcome to include your name or not. Please be brief in your writing. If you attend our Sunday services from the mask-required and fragrance-free space on the balcony, and this process does not work for you, or if for any other reason this process does not work for you, you can also email a joy or sorrow to the minister by Saturday afternoon, and we'll be happy to share it during the service. The time for joys and sorrows is led by a member of our lay pastoral care team, and I will turn it over to Lori Groves to lead it now. Now, won't you please join me in attitude of prayer or reflection? Let's just pause and take a breath together, breathing in and breathing out, and taking in one more breath, breathing in, breathing out. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Spirit of peace, be with us in this place. Peace be in our minds and hearts and our bodies. We give thanks that amidst all the moments of rush or clamor or busyness in our lives, we are also able to make time for quiet, for calm, for some moment of just being. So let us just be for a moment, trusting that we do not need to earn our right to this moment, but that we are meant to have rest and spaciousness in our lives. Let us just breathe and invite that spaciousness into our lives and into our being. So I invite you now to spend a few moments in silent meditation or reflection. We're going to enjoy a few moments of the communion of silence together, and for those of you who will need expectations, we're going to sit in silence for about 10 breaths. In the quiet, let us be attentive to our bodies, listening for the body's wisdom. Let us be attentive to our hearts, listening for our heart's wisdom. Let us be aware of our connection to the earth, to our fellow beings, to the mystery of life that holds all these things. And let us be open to the presence and possibility of love and peace. I will sound us out of this moment of silent meditation with a note from the singing bowl. Our meditation hymn today is number 15, The Lone Wild Bird. You can remain seated.
As we gather in this spiritual home place, let's take a minute to feel the abundance of community. The words of our opening hymn suggest that as we give, we gain, and so I'll invite you now to give generously as you are able to the work of this church, its community, and its people. Our reading this morning is Fault Line by Robert Walsh, written after an earthquake. Did you ever think there might be a fault line passing underneath your living room? A place in which your life is lived in meeting and in separating, wondering and telling, unaware that just beneath you is the unseen seam of great plates that strain through time, and that your life, already spilling over the brim, could be invaded, sent off in a new direction, turned aside by forces you were warned about but not prepared for. Shelves could be spilled out, the level floor set at an angle in some seconds shaking, you would have to take your losses, do whatever must be done next. When the great plates slip and the earth shivers and the flaw is seen to lie in what you trusted most, look not to more solidity, to weighty slabs of concrete poured, or strength of cantilevered beam to save the fractured order. Trust more the tensile strand of love that bend and stretch to hold you in the web of life that's often torn, but always healing. There's your strength. The shifting plates, the restive earth, your room, your precious life, they all proceed from love, the ground on which we walk together.
So I spent a few weeks in Santa Barbara this summer, as I have previously shared. And in that short time in California, I experienced not one, but 2 earthquakes. And when the first earthquake happened, I was sitting on the bed reading a book, and it was kind of like this. And when the second earthquake happened, I was standing in line at the rental car counter, and it was sort of like this. And both times I had to stop and think, was that an earthquake? I mean, I guess so. I am in California. It's not an unexpected occurrence. And this was not my first earthquake. Every once in a blue moon, and I mean very, very occasionally, we do get mild earthquakes in Indiana, where I grew up. There is actually a fault line that runs through the Midwest, and we are someday there maybe due for a big one in that part of the country. But most of the time, earthquakes in Indiana are so small as to be undetectable to anything but scientific instruments, and then maybe once in a decade or so, it's like, was that an earthquake? This is a fact that is generally not well known. When you think of Indiana, you think tornadoes, not earthquakes. And my wife, Suzanne, maintains that if a person moves from a generally not having earthquake state, like Texas, where she grew up, to a very occasionally earthquake-having place not known for having earthquakes, like, say, Indiana, it is incumbent on the native person to lay out all of the facts and possibilities earthquake-wise. Because one day, in fact, shortly after Suzanne moved to Indiana, we did have a 4.0-ish earthquake, enough to shake the bed and actually rattle the dishes. Suzanne was home and I was at work, and Suzanne did not know what the heck was going on because no one had told her there were ever earthquakes in Indiana. And the experience of it was actually pretty scary. It was not whimsical at all because it is disorienting to have the ground shift unexpectedly under one's feet, even if it is mild and momentary. Severe earthquakes, for those who experience them, can be extremely traumatic, extremely destabilizing, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. More than 20% of people who experience a serious earthquake will deal with some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder. And in the aftermath of an earthquake that rises to this level of a natural disaster, there are studies that show that the existence of community can be a very important factor in determining how quickly and how well people recover and regain their psychological bearings. And communities can, of course, provide shelter, material support, information, and other resources. But spiritual communities, studies have found, have a particularly important role to play. And what they provide is connection and hope and meaning-making. Now, Unitarian Universalists in general are people who know the value of community. We prize community. Community is one of the most cited reasons for joining a UU congregation like First Parish. People come here because they want community. It is always top of the list. But of course, as a church, we're not just any kind of community, right? We are not a bowling league or a book club or a historical society, although we do have book clubs. We do talk about history, and I would love it if we all went bowling. I would love that so much. But no, we are a specific kind of community, a spiritual community, which means we specialize exactly in connection and hope and meaning-making. And that's a good thing, because we need connection and hope and meaning-making right now more than ever. Because we've been through some things. Not necessarily an earthquake, but maybe an earthquake, right? Some of our new neighbors arriving in Boston have been displaced by earthquakes or the aftermath of earthquakes, like the Haitian earthquake of 2010, for example. And if it is not an earthquake, it may be some other natural disaster like wildfires or droughts or floods. We're all experiencing the effects of significant climate destabilization wherever we live, and this will only accelerate it. And with it, the movement of peoples around the globe will only accelerate. So the mass movement of people will be the story of this century. We had better get used to it. We had better learn to deal with it productively instead of destructively, because it is the story of this century. And in other spheres, we have experienced political shifts that may feel unprecedented or destabilizing. The rapid rise of the extreme right, the attack on the Capitol January 6th, the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Rapid inflation feels very destabilizing to many as people struggle to make ends meet, because sticker shock at the grocery store hits people at a very primal level, because access to food is about as primal as it gets. And then there's COVID, an earthquake which is still producing an abundance of aftershocks. So yes, we've been through some things collectively, and that's not even naming all of the things that people are going through and have gone through individually, because life did not stop being life in all the other ways just because we were holed up in our apartment washing our groceries and doing Google searches on murder hornets. Remember that? Life has been life ever since, even as we try to get back to something that feels like stability. And so the poet says, when the great plates slip, and the earth shivers, and the flaw is seen to lie in what you trusted most, look not to more solidity, to weighty slabs of concrete, strength of cantilevered beam to save the fractured order. No, trust more the tensile strands of love that bend and stretch to hold you in the web of life that's often torn but always healing. Trust love. So this summer, at our annual General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association, several thousand UUs from all across the country, delegates representing our collective congregations, voted overwhelmingly to adopt new language for the vision and the promise at the core of our living religious tradition. And the center of that vision was the claiming of love as our most important shared value, the ground from which all of our other values spring, the center around which this whole enterprise revolves. That is to say, we voted to replace our 7 principles, which we have held since 1985, with 6 new values and love at the center. And this resolution passed overwhelmingly, but not unanimously, and of course, some people had feelings about it. And of all of the objections that people had to this change, the one that I personally had the most sympathy for was the one that went, can we just slow down for 1 second? Can we stop changing things for 1 minute? We just went through COVID. Our politics are a nightmare. Half of my work life happens on Zoom now, right? Everything is changing at what feels like breakneck speed. Really is now the moment when we need to change our 7 principles. Do we need one more shift in the ground beneath our feet? To which our people collectively said, yes, it's been a lot, but look not to more solidity, trust love. And that's what we did. And so we put love at the center of our religious vision, named love as our shared value, the thing that most connects us. Love is the ground of our hope, our faith in its transforming power and its enduring value. Love is a shared commitment by which we can orient our life and make meaning of what we're doing together, right? So love as the source of our connection, our hope, and our meaning-making, the very things we look to our religious communities for in the aftermath of an earthquake. Now, religious institutions, I believe, have two functions in times of upheaval, in times of conflict, challenge, and change, such as we are experiencing. They give us the resources we need with which to deal with the immediate moment of crisis, the challenge, right? Connection, hope, and meaning-making give us resilience. Love grounds us, anchors us, sustains us at the moment when the earth is shaking. It sustains us when we are picking up the tumbled pieces of all of the broken things we had believed to be unbreakable. After the earthquake, trust in the tensile strands of love. But love also calls us through and beyond the moment, because religious community does more than just sustain us. Through connection and hope and meaning-making, we cast a vision. We cast a vision beyond and through the moment of crisis, because love calls us to something greater than this moment, greater than ourselves. And this is the part of it that's like flying a kite, like in our story for all ages today. We plant our feet, we cast a vision up and out, like releasing a kite on its slender thread, paper thin, right? Our aspirations, our hopes. We release it to the place where we hope our dreams will take flight, but also inevitably there it is taken by winds and pulled in directions we know not where. Which means we are also pulled in directions we know not where, right? To cast a vision like this is to trust enough to surrender once again some of our hard-won stability, some of our hard-won stability. So religious community does both things. It stabilizes us and it pulls us off our feet simultaneously. Love grounds us and it also calls us into the unknown. And we can take this risk precisely because we do it as a community. We can trust that if that kite threatens to yank us right off our feet, you and you and you and you will be there with me for all of us to hold on for dear life together. So the question I am asking this year that is shaping how I think about my ministry at First Parish is, how is love calling us in this moment? In this time, how is love calling us if love is at the center of this religious tradition? And how will we answer that call? By which I mean, how will we answer it together? And I'm thinking of both functions of a church community. How is love grounding us? And how is love carrying us to new places? How are we all growing in connection and resilience? And how are we casting a vision beyond and through the challenges? What is our story of connection and hope and meaning-making for this year? And since it's the start of our first year together, our first new year together, I thought it would be helpful to review these things. So let's start with the first function, grounding. Right? I want to name some of the ways we are answering the call of love to greater connection this year. So here are some ways that we are investing in building community. This year, I'm going to be leading our pastoral care team through a year-long UUA curriculum on pastoral care to support the team in everything that they do and to strengthen our ability to care for this congregation and for one another now and in the future. This year, we are so lucky to have Nate Sellers as our amazing new Director of Faith Development for Children as a full-time position, reporting to Reverend Annie, to grow our program for children and youth. So we now have 2 full-time staff focused specifically on faith development and community building for all ages, with an emphasis on multi-generational connection, accessibility and inclusion, right? Welcoming all families, spiritual growth, learning, and fun. Fun. This year, our membership teams will be focused with new energy and lots of great ideas on outreach and building community. So come see our new banner at Bedford Day and visit our 2 tables, one of them dedicated entirely to our religious education program. Fill out your First Parish bingo card at the welcome table, as M did. Cry out bingo, get more connected to the community, and plan to participate in many fun community events throughout the year, like wisdom teas, spaghetti dinners, Friday potlucks, food for thought, mystery friends. These are some of the things that we're bringing back to build connection. This year, our music committee is bringing it. That is nothing new. They do that every year, but boy, are they bringing it this year, right? And you can see the flyer for the 4A celebration in your order of service as just one example. This year, the word on the street is the choir ran out of chairs at their kickoff rehearsal. Ran out of chairs, and they would still love to have new members. This year, we're investing in technology to continue to improve our communication, to better support our teams and volunteers, and to expand our worship capabilities on Sunday morning. And all of this is about growing connection, growing community, growing resilience. It is precisely about strengthening the tensile strands of love which hold us securely in the web of life, which are our lifeline when the ground shifts beneath our feet. And doubtless there are many more ways in which we will think to do this, and I expect the best ideas will probably come from you and not from me, and I look forward to creating that connection together. Now let's look at the second function. Here are some of the ways, just some of the ways, we're casting that vision. Just some of the ways we're answering the call of love this year beyond this moment. So this year, as mentioned, we have our new immigration justice team. First Parish is already doing incredible work supporting families in Bedford and beyond, and the new team is going to lead us into even deeper engagement on this issue. This year, we will continue to be a leader in environmental activism through our incredible environmental justice team and with our new partnership with UU Mass Action, with greater collaboration with other UU churches. We're going to show up as a voice for justice in new and exciting and powerful ways. This year, beginning with our Spirit of Democracy service, the first Sunday in October, we're going to have a conversation on how churches are called to respond to America's history of white supremacy and the intersection of that history with our own history. And we will ask how love calls us to repair and reparations. And this should be an exciting conversation, and I don't doubt it will be a challenging conversation. This year, we're going to embark on a strategic planning process that carries our finances and our facilities into a sustainable future, and in particular imagines how our beloved campus can reflect our commitment to environmental sustainability in new ways. And this year, our reinvigorated partner church committee, fresh off a 30-year anniversary trip to the village of Abashfava, will plan for the future of our relationship with our sister church in Romania. And you can learn more about that trip after the service next Sunday. Right, these are just some of the ways we will be answering the call of love this year, casting our vision to the winds like a delicate kite on a slender thread, opening ourselves up to the possibilities of being pulled in new directions, risking even being pulled off our feet. And I have no doubt that you will, as a community, imagine many other possibilities. And doubtless, there will be times when we realize, after thoughtful discernment, that it is time to let a particular kite go. And there will be other times when we grab hold of one another as a community and hold the line steady, however fiercely the wind blows. Underneath it all is a faith that love acts with power and persistence in the world. Underneath it all is a faith that we can create a beloved community that is big enough for all of us, that can celebrate our particularity and hold us in our common humanity. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Strength will join our strength to do the work that needs to be done. And underneath it all will be the tensile strands of love, holding us in the web of life that is always frayed and always healing. May we rest in love. May love rest in us. And may the love that flows in and through this community be a blessing for all and everywhere. Amen. Our closing hymn today is number 10, Immortal Love. We haven't sung this one in a while, so I'm going to ask Sandra to play it all the way through once if she would. And then please rise in body or spirit. Our closing words are by Laura Bellamy. If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. And if you have known love, give some back to a world that could surely use a little more love. Blessed be, amen. Go in peace.